Well, the deadline to try to get a peace deal is this week, according to the administration, but they are talking, the president going to Truth Social saying, is it really possible that big progress is being made in peace talks between Russia and Ukraine? Don't believe it until you see it, but something good may just be happening. God bless America. A joint statement on those peace talks Sunday. Both sides agreed the consultations were highly productive. The discussions showed meaningful progress toward aligning positions, identifying clear next steps. They reaffirmed that any future agreement must fully uphold Ukraine's sovereignty and deliver a sustainable and just peace. As a result of the discussions, the parties drafted an updated and refined peace framework. So what does that all mean? We'll start there with our panel, Fox News chief political analyst Brit Hume, Annie Linsky, White House reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and Fox News contributor Guy Benson. You know, Brit, we've been down this road before, and it always seems like it comes back to Vladimir Putin, and it doesn't follow through. Is there enough pressure on Putin, do you think, to move the needle this time?
Well, I don't think there's anything about the first rough draft of this agreement that suggested that there's any pressure on him whatsoever. And certainly he has, as you point out, Brett, not really agreed to do much of anything yet. Now, there may be things happening in those talks, and we can certainly hope that there are, that would indicate that there's some flexibility on Russia's part. But so far, at least from what we've seen, and this has happened time and again, as you suggest, there has been very little of that. And obviously that was what you could hear that reflected in the words of President Zelensky. So I hope this works out, but I must say at this point I'm skeptical.
You know, the vice president, Annie, pushing back on several members of the GOP who came out swinging, including Senator Mitch McConnell and others, that said that this original 28-point plan was really not the right thing. He said, you know what really fires up the Beltway GOP? The political class is really angry that the Trump administration may finally bring a 4-year conflict in Eastern Europe to a close. I'm not even talking about the substance of their views. Much of what these people have said about the Ukraine war has proven wrong, but whatever. We can agree to disagree. But the level of passion over this one issue when your own country has serious problems is bonkers. It disgusts me. Show some passion for your own country. I mean, that was a strong letter to follow there.
Yeah, the vice president, I think, was voicing the frustration that was felt within the White House and the West Wing over the weekend when there was reporting that the White House, strongly disagreed with. That came out saying that this plan that was put out by the White House was really just a Russian plan. Look, when I was talking to my sources in the administration over the weekend and today, they made the point that when you step back for a minute, that Witkoff, the president's special envoy for Russia, along with Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, put their heads together and were thinking about what was the playbook that worked for them in the Middle East. What worked for them to bring those two warring parties together? And a key piece in their mind was putting out on paper some kind of framework, and a framework that would cause a discussion to move forward. So, I mean, that is some of the thinking that was going on behind the scenes over the weekend, and I think that's where that frustration came from the vice president, that to say that this effort was for it to be so criticized.
Yeah, Guy.
Well, if that initial draft that Britt was talking about was meant to be a trial balloon, it went over like a lead balloon on Capitol Hill, including among many Republicans, and we just heard that reference there with the vice president sort of punching back. Initially, there were conflicting reports that Secretary Rubio had briefed some senators and said, no, it's actually not really the draft. It's a bunch of Russian demands or requests, and we're going to work from there. Then the administration said that that's not true. So it's a little hazy to understand exactly what has happened. It does seem like whatever that first draft might have been, it's not where the administration intends to finish, which would be a sigh of relief for the Ukrainians and a lot of their supporters. But where things stand right now and whether or not Putin is feeling any additional pressure, very much unclear, although there does seem to be an uptick in appetite on the Hill for potential new sanctions, including some high-profile Republicans talking about that.
Meantime, back here at home, the two cases, the Comey and Letitia James indictments, the dismissal of those cases, the White House is calling it a technicality, and the DOJ is saying they're going to appeal. But here's some reaction. Take a listen.
The biggest problem that the judge saw here is Halligan herself. And this is something that a number of us raised when the indictment first came out.
These cases on their merits were always thin and weak at best. That's why the career prosecutors recommended against indicting either James Comey or Letitia James.
We believe we will be successful on appeal. And I'll tell you, Lindsay Halligan, I talked to all of our U.S. attorneys, the majority of them around the country, and Lindsay Halligan is an excellent U.S. attorney, and shame on them for not wanting her in office.
Brit, this is about Lindsay Halligan, how she was appointed to U.S. attorney in the Eastern District. Your thoughts?
Well, I think the White House is right in saying that this is a technicality. The judge did not rule on the merits in any way. He did not say that the charges were legally deficient. What they said was that the wrong person brought them, someone who should not have been in a position to do that. That seems to me to be something that can be corrected, and that it's possible and probably even likely that these charges will be reinstated. Now, that doesn't mean that they will prevail in the end, and it doesn't mean that the criticism of the charges as being thin won't turn out to be true in the end. But so far, what we have is the dismissal for now on what really is a bit of a technicality.
Yeah, and there were some victory laps, I guess, Annie, and maybe with this appeal preemptively.
Yes, there were certainly victory laps. Perhaps not unexpected that would be the case. But look, some of the Republicans that I talked to about this earlier today made the point that all of this, in a sense, is a blessing in disguise for the White House, because the election about a week or so ago really showed that what voters are looking for is a focus on affordability and other topics, and waging what many are viewing as a sort of personal vindication effort by the president and the White House is not something that voters were saying that they wanted. And so if you're looking at the midterms and talking to at least Republicans on the Hill, that is where they'd prefer the president to be spending his time.
Meantime, there's an effort to bring up an investigation of Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, on why Kelly is the only lawmaker in this commercial of 6 others who participated in this video. He says 5 of the 6 individuals in that video do not fall under the Department of War jurisdiction. 1 is CIA, 4 are former military but not retired, so they are no longer subject to the UCMJ. However, Mark Kelly, retired Navy commander, is still subject to the UCMJ. He knows that. Kelly's conduct brings discredit upon the armed forces and will be addressed appropriately, suggesting that it may bring him back to active duty to court-martial him, Guy?
Well, I thought the video was idiotic and political partisan preening by these Democrats. I don't think it's been a great response from President Trump either. Mark Kelly rumored to be potentially eyeing a presidential run himself. This would certainly elevate him if the White House is going to, or the administration rather, is going to pick a fight directly with him over this. He might, in some political sense, welcome that.
We shall see. We'll follow it all. Panel, thanks.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.